There's been a lot of talk about what the Lions are going to do this offseason, who they're going to add, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We know secondary, we know linebacker. And then defensive line, I wanted to remind us that we have a player on our defensive line that should be back in 2023. That should be a big piece to what we're doing that we've forgotten about. That is almost like adding a free agent. It kind of happened this year where guys were injured last year that kind of came back. Jerry Jacobs. It's like this free agent acquisition that you don't have to acquire them. They're already on your team, but they've been injured. So it's on the D line. And this guy that I'm talking about that we cannot forget about, and I'm going to remind you how good he is. And he's a starting caliber dude. So this is our guy. All the way to Charles Harris. Now, if you remember, around Thanksgiving, we put him on IR officially, but he'd been up and down. Now, that did ultimately make room for James Houston. So it allowed James Houston to come in, play more, and really show what he's all about. But Charles Harris is your defensive end starter dude. I mean, James Houston, great. And we know we're going to use him. He's going to be in there for specialty pack, all kinds of things. Like James Houston is not going to like not play, but Charles Harris is like a good defensive end that's going to be back next year. Remember, he had a growing injury. So it's not like it was a ACL or I mean, it can be severe too. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like a one of these Achilles, collarbone, something that's like really, don't know how you'll come back. Growing injury should be able to come back completely fine, ready to go for 2023. Because remember, the year prior, 7.5 sacks, 52 quarterback pressures. He had a single sack against the Washington Commanders. Remember, he forced the fumble in the end zone of Carson Wentz. I mean, that was fresh Charles Harris. So he has a 2-year, $13 million contract, $7 million in guarantees. So it tells me that he should be back. He's not going to be a cap casualty. And so now you've got Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris. You've got James Houston coming in. You've got Romeo Okwara. So now our defensive ends, they've seen a lot of mock drafts where it's looking at us for defensive ends. That kind of makes sense, when you're picking at the top, defensive ends, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, what if we have our defensive ends set and we can use those resources on D tackle, linebacker, and secondary? So remember, and they're just making a note here, Houston, I mean, outstanding. Jackson State, 6'1", 240. We know what he did. He's undersized, but he's able to get in. Josh Allen for a couple sacks when he made his debut around Thanksgiving. So we're all excited about Houston, rightfully so. But you've got a starting caliber guy that had 7.5 sacks before he got hurt in Harris. So don't forget about him. And don't forget that we don't need necessarily a D end that we keep getting mocked to. Tyree Wilson, I love him. I think, man, yeah, I mean, I'll take him, right? But if we don't, and we go a different way, we go corner, we go wide receiver. I don't know. We do something different than what we're expecting instead of grabbing a defensive end. We should be okay with Okwara. I mean, even Julian Okwara is still kind of out there. Remember against the Bears, he played really well, but then disappeared. So you got Romeo, Charles Harris, James Houston, and then of course Hutch. You got defensive ends. I mean, yes, do you want 2 premier defensive ends? Of course, everybody does, but I'm almost better with Charles Harris, a proven guy that is in the culture that had a turnaround year versus grabbing a rookie. I'd rather take my chances on a rookie corner to bolster our secondary. I mean, you got nothing there. I mean, we got no help on the secondary. So all we've got is, I mean, I don't, as far as corner wise, we need real help on the cornerback position. And that's something that we're going to definitely address. And then same with linebacker. You've got Anzalone. I'm a big Anzalone fan. I really am. But at the end of the day, he's a good, solid backup, special teams. Like if he's your backup, you're in great shape. He's a good, really good backup dude. Now, can he play and start? Of course he can. He did it for us. He didn't miss much. I really like him. But man, if you could have 2 dynamic linebackers, that would be so awesome. So I'm okay drafting a linebacker. Get Barnes. Barnes is kind of there, but he's not quite. He wants to be. He's explosive. He looks the part, but Barnes isn't really ready. So you need more depth, if anything, at the linebacker position. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Charles Harris is coming back. We've got our D-line, or excuse me, our DNs set. We need D tackles. We need line. We need other things. So if we don't take a stud D end early in the first round, it's okay. It's okay. We got DNs. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see all of you on the next one.